My name is Patrick Hart, and welcome to another show of Open Range. Thank you, first of all, for tuning in. Thank you to Gary Emeneth for giving me this opportunity to host a couple of great friends today. And thanks to the sponsors for making sure that we have enough funds to stay online. If you haven't remembered from last segment, my name's Patrick Hart. I'm a longtime Democratic super volunteer. Ran for office, ran the party, ran for office again. And I just lean in and fill whatever gap I can. And I would recommend you do that same in your community. Find a need, step up. Past that, I'm a contractor in town. I have dirt under my nails, usually paint on my forearm. And, I get dirty for a living. I job creator, employ half a dozen people, and absolutely love giving back to my community. Today we have two people that we're going to get to, but in a minute, I want to talk about being a Democrat in North Dakota. And I had a good friend, Josh Boucher. He is running as a Fargo mayoral candidate. And a couple of years ago at state convention up in Minot, he received a well-deserved Hometown Hero Award. He shared that a lot of people asked him if it's hard to be a Democrat in North Dakota. And his response has stuck with me even years later. Josh tells people it's actually really easy to be a Democrat in North Dakota because it's easy to care about your elderly neighbor. It's easy to want your kids to get a good education, and it's easy to want our society to truly work for everyone. And I feel that way too. I want my neighbor Gary to have amazing VA healthcare. I want my cousins to be able to marry whoever they want and to be fully accepted. I want equal rights for all humans, regardless of lifestyle, gender, creed, color, or origin. And that absolutely includes voting rights. Native Americans in this state should not have to fight so hard for a fundamental constitutional right. I want our farmers to have fair access for markets both at home and abroad. I want our beef producers to be free from the manipulation of meatpacker monopolies. I want my friends and neighbors to have real thriving opportunities within their own communities. And of course, I want our kids to have hope for the future and the ability to put down their own roots right here in the state that I love. Being a Democrat and supporting each other is easy. But wanting these things isn't enough, and it never has been. We have to get up every day and grind it out. Look, I'm a professional contractor. I know exactly what it takes to build something that lasts. You start from the ground up, and at first, the work seems slow, tedious, and dirty. But I know that the long hours logged, the craftsmanship, and daily diligence are what lead to concrete results. We as Dem-NPLers are putting in those long hours. We're putting ourselves out there, listening, learning, and running on a message focused on achieving long-lasting change. Good change, change that lift people up, change that make our neighbors breathe a little easier about the days ahead. Now, let's be honest, we haven't won many elections in the last decade, but that's no reason to abandon the job. It's not a reason to give up on making lives better for our neighbors. For many of us who have been at this a long time, we can feel the shift. We know we're making progress and we're gaining momentum. Defeating our opponents and their agenda can feel like pushing a boulder up a hill, but we keep pushing together. We keep pressing everything we've got, our hands, our shoulders, we're digging in with our heels, and inch by inch, we are progressing because ensuring our neighbors are taken care of is totally worth the effort. Because at the end of the day, people like us just don't have people. We are the people that others have. And with that, I'd like to introduce my two guests today, Zach Raknerud and Jayme Davis.
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
Jayme.
Yes.
You are running as a House incumbent for Senate in District 9.
Yes.
Now, what's it like to be a Democrat?
Well, you said it very well. Of course, Josh is, I'm a fan. I've always said I'm a fangirl of Josh Boucher. And he's one of the people that got me really interested in politics in the first place because I saw the heart. I saw the grit, the grind that you were talking about earlier, but really the care and compassion as well that comes with it. And that spoke to me. And so I agree, it is easy being a Democrat. I grew up, with a family of Democrats, but more so a family that just said, get out and care, get out. It's your responsibility to as an Indigenous person, that's embedded in us is our family, our community, our tribe. And so I found a group of people that have the same ideals. And so for me, it is easy. But in this political climate that we're in today, of course, it's tested. But the more I talk to people across the board, the more I see that they are more practical than partisan, really. And so we all worry about the same things. We want our children to grow up in healthy and secure environments and have good access to healthcare and education and be able to go on vacations and, just live a good life. And, I think that's, more important to me to learn that about other people than it is what letter is behind my name or your name. So I think, I'm glad that you brought up Josh's quote there and your explanation of it as well. It is easy because if that's who you are and you want to care about beyond yourself and your family, yeah, it comes pretty easy.
It does. And Zach, you're running for
the House of Representatives in District 5.
Now, Zach, I know you over the last 10 years, we've ran for office together, we've organized together. And I'll maybe asterisk Josh's statement. It is easy to be a Democrat in North Dakota. It is hard to organize, though.
Yes.
And I know you've been putting in that grind now for a decade.
Yeah, 10 years.
Tell us about your experience.
Yeah, I really like the theme that you gave in your speech there about how it's gotten easier over time. And I think that hits the nail on the head because when I got into politics in 2016, we were coming off 8 years of the Obama presidency, and we're kind of entering this populist era in the country. And we had a moment where the left side of the aisle, the Democrat side, really failed to meet that moment of populism. And as a result, we've kind of seen the consequences of that electorally. We've seen the consequences of that in the real world around us. And unfortunately, we're at this stage where there's been so much immense wealth concentration in this country that I think it's pretty clear to think and to say that we are in a second Gilded Age right now. And that's why I think the idea that it's becoming even easier to become a Democrat is because we see those problems and we're ready to bring things forward that will address it. And so, I mean, looking at the history of North Dakota, part and parcel with the values of the Dem-NPL. So I think this is a great time for us to be able to really flex those muscles and to say, hey, we're here to advocate for everyday working people, and we're going to get policy solutions that break up the second Gilded Age and make things more fair for everybody.
Well, I don't like to jump into national, but I will really quick. And a lot of people ask me, they say, Patrick, who's the upcoming Democrats that are going to be on the stage? Who's the new people that we don't know about? And of course, Westmore and Baltimore, James Tellerico down in Texas. I got a lot of love for him. I just, though, found out there's a fishing boat captain.
Yeah, Graham Plattner.
Up in Maine.
Yeah.
And he said something that I saw on a clip that really resonated. He said, if you ask anyone if they're being stolen from, they'll say, yes, they are. And some people say it's the government. Some people say it's the business and corporations. So when you talk about that concentration of wealth, Zach, that's where I have to go.
Yeah.
So really quick, you guys, you're running in Minot. What's the campaign look like so far?
So far, I mean, we have a lot of the local elections going on that are very, very important. And we actually have some contested primaries on the GOP side. Minot has been kind of known to have some of the more extreme lawmakers from the legislature. And so there's actually a battle going on in District 3 between a couple incumbents that are on that more fringe side, and then the Armstrong-backed candidates that are more of your moderate Republicans. So for us in District 5, we don't have a lot of that stuff going on. So we're just getting out there and getting the infrastructure built right now. So community events is the big thing that we're looking to have. And as you can see there on the screen, District 5 Minot is really small compared to the rest of the districts. And I think it presents a really good opportunity just because we're all in the city limits of Minot like that.
Sure.
So yeah, we're just getting infrastructure built and getting ready to connect with the community as best we can.
Jayme, what's your campaign look like? Have you been out marching in parades?
Well, mine is a little different, because I'm one of, I think, the only one of a Democrat race that's contested in North Dakota. I know I've gotten a lot of calls about that. Usually it's the Republican side that's contested. And yeah, so it's a little different. My primary is coming up in June 9th. And so really hitting the ground running and hitting it hard. We are across every platform, making sure that, the message is out there, and it's simple. It's, I just want to make sure that we have a voice, a strong voice in the Senate and in the House. And we have that in the House. I believe that. And in the Senate, I want to make sure that, as we all know, we have a limited amount of seats as Democrats in the House and Senate. And so every seat needs to carry its weight. And I want to make sure that this seat from District 9 is well represented, works hard, and is ready to hit the ground running. So yeah, it's just, I think they showed the map. Redistricting is a huge one for us. This is my first time I'll be able to actually run for a full 4 years. Hopefully it stays that way. But I've had to run every 2 years because of redistricting. And as you can see, it's a little wonky there. District 9 goes all the way from the Canada border down to the Spirit Lake Nation. So yeah, the Peace Garden is part of my district. And so I try to embody that peace throughout. And so yeah, it's exciting times for sure.
Well, thank you guys for stepping up and run. We're going to cut to commercial break really quick, and we'll be back with Jayme Davis and Zach Raknerud.
Stop out to our facility, Highway 22 South. Let us build a truck for you.
Find relief for what ails you at Steepney Tea Apothecary. Teas, supplements, tinctures, and more. Formulated to fight whatever has you down. We're Bismarck Mandan's favorite place to find delicious, natural, and easy ways to alleviate symptoms brought on by anything from colds to cancer. Brew a better you at Steepney Tea Apothecary. Steepney products may cause side effects, including but not limited to improved mood, deeper sleep, enhanced hydration, renewed sense of smell, increased energy levels, superior balance, boosted immunity, proper digestion, restored sense of calm, and a delightful smelling home.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza.
Welcome to Radiant Retreat Tanning and Spa in Mandan, where a relaxing spa experience meets the latest in healing innovations. Take total control of your massage in our Hydro Massage Bed. Experience whole body healing in our Zero Body Cryo Bed. Let our Salt Sauna and Halo Generator restore your respiratory and skin health. And of course, tailored tanning will keep you looking as good as you feel. Discover your best self at Radiant Retreat, 1307 First Street Northeast, Mandan.
Are you dealing with arthritis, nerve and back pain, dry skin, or superficial wounds, but found no relief? Give Stewart's Natural Health a try. For over 4 decades, Stewart's Natural Health has been helping people and animals with herbal and natural oil lotions, ointments, and creams with a mission to help you relieve pain and feel your best using the power of nature. Discover the safe, drug-free solution to your pain, guaranteed or your money back. Visit stewartsnatural.health today.
West River Equipment of Mandan is here to help you maintain peak productivity in your operation. As an authorized dealer for many high-quality equipment lines, we have the new and used equipment it takes to make your farming, ranching, or construction operation profitable and efficient. West River Equipment also has the parts on hand and the experienced technicians in our shop to get your equipment back in action fast. Find what you need at West River Equipment on Old Red Trail in Mandan.
Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Patrick Hart, but more importantly, I want you to meet the fabulous guests we have. We have Jayme Davis running for Senate in District 9, and we have Zach Raknerud running for House up in Minot, District 5. Jayme,
Yes.
tell me about yourself. Where are you from? Why are you running? What makes you qualified?
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm Jayme Davis. I am an enrolled member of the Trail Mountain Band of Chippewa, where my father, the late Dr. Jim Davis, is from, and also have deep family roots in the Standing Rock Nation, where my mother Carmelita is from. So that's my foundation, of course. I think across any family, it's your parents that set that foundation. So family roots are strong. And I was actually born here in Bismarck and grew up here. First few years of my life, where my dad was at the time working as a dean out at United Tribes, and then moved to the Department of Public Instruction. And then my mother was working at the Indian Affairs. So early in life, education, public service was deeply embedded in our family. So it's not surprising, although my parents always said stay out of politics, but here we are. And I graduated from the University of Mary here. So again, I still have family here in Bismarck-Mandan area, strong ties to the area. And as a current representative, I'm here, it seems like at least every other week. But during my time at University of Mary, one of my instructors was working for Senator Conrad at the time. And so he had said, I think you'd do really great in DC. And I'm like, never thought of it. And again, family had always said, stay away from politics. But I thought, well, an internship in DC, that could be fun. But ended up getting hired on with him full-time as an Indian Affairs liaison. So that's really where the love for good policy came from, and really learning from him and watching him and other staffers and legislators work across the aisle. It was a time of Obama administration, and a time of really compromise, I think, too. And I'm really glad I got to experience that. And it showed me what good legislation can look like and what it takes to create that, and really the possibility of working for your people and what that means. And so now I'm in the legislature here for District 9, current state representative, and running for state senate. And it's exciting times. I loved working in the House for the past 4 years, but I see the time. Earlier I had mentioned that we have a small number of seats. I hope it grows for Democrats, but really each seat really needs to, carry its weight. And so especially in the Senate, smaller number there. So for District 9, we need somebody that is going to show up, ask the questions, and do the work. And I've done that in the House, and, passing some pretty heavy legislation that, people are like, what are you doing, Jayme? This is a big one, with my very first one, which was the Indian Child Welfare Act, to codify that here in North Dakota law, and really educating first and foremost on why it's important, why Native Americans or Indigenous people have their own laws or deserve their own laws. We're part of the Constitution. There's a whole background of why we are the way we are, and we have that government to government relationship. But in practice, it's a little more harder to explain of when we're passing bills about Indian children and what that means. And so I think people were like, you are shooting for the moon here, girl. But at the time I was like, I don't care. It has to be done, because it was up in the Supreme Court at the time, and I had no choice. And so I wasn't going to let my people down. And thankfully, our legislators understood and passed it with flying colors, and I'm so proud of that. Is it perfect? No, but we got our foot in the door, and we will be continuing to work on that to make sure that our children across the board are safe and secure and have good homes. So yeah, and then just, of course, on top of that, just the tribal state relations is really important to me too at the beginning. So that's where the foundation came in. And I hit the ground running, 4 years ago.
Well, one thing that I'm always impressed with the Democrats, the Dirty Dozen, right?
Yeah.
12 of us in the House, is that even though we have limited numbers, we can continue every year to pass good legislation.
Yes.
And I think that is an example of working across the aisle, bringing
Definitely.
forth common sense issues, and also knowing how to get things passed, knowing the process. although there is a small number of us, we are very tenured with, Kathy Hogan, with Ms.
Yes.
Schneider, Senator Mathens. So I think that there is a process there. Now, really quick, you mentioned good legislation. Can you name a couple bills that you sponsored or got passed this last cycle?
Yeah, I mean, the one that we worked really hard on was, of course, the missing missing Indigenous person, but also in that came out the fact that there was no alert system for just general, and so we included that. So now we have missing endangered persons alert, and so there's amber alert, missing persons, and then also the silver alert. So just finding those gaps as we're, looking, because unfortunately we have a huge epidemic of Indigenous people going missing. And we have so many great agencies and departments working on this, but the communication just needed to come together. And I leave tomorrow to another legislation that we passed, which was the Missing Indigenous Persons Task Force, because there's so many great people. But again, it's just what happens when somebody goes missing, because we have so much difficulty with jurisdictional issues. So, my reservation is 6 miles by 12 miles. It doesn't take long to get out, get off of the reservation, and then you go to county, and then you can go to state, and then sometimes we're right on the Canada border. So, the possibilities, unfortunately, are endless in some ways. And how do we navigate that? And the communication to be seamless. And it's working. We've had some last week or the week before, we had a young girl go missing back home, and it was like clockwork. And I was so proud of everybody coming together, working to find this girl, and came home safe and unharmed. And so that's, that was, I'm just so glad that everybody is finally coming together. So there's that. And, rural health, that's a big one for me, getting access, and was part of the Rural Health Transformation Committee during the interim as well. I was the only Indigenous voice, rural health, or rural as well. I live in not Minot, I apologize. I live in Rolette, which is close to Minot. Our closest city is Minot. But the access, I think for me, that's the big one for our rural and tribal communities, is access to healthcare, to, education, behavioral health, mental health, things like that. So I'm really looking forward to, I think a lot of the rural health grants are going to be closing soon. So if you're going to apply, please apply, get those applications in soon. Really looking forward to seeing what comes out of that.
Can you speak at all? I don't think it'll be a surprise to anyone if I say sometimes we see some turmoil in Washington and on the federal level.
Yeah.
Obviously, that impacts locally on, the tribal nations of North Dakota. Is there a lot of stress that you see back home because of the potential cessation of benefits, of dollars that'll, essentially help your tribe organize? And
yeah, definitely. We've always had the federal tribal relationship more so than state tribal, I would say. But now that the funds are coming through the state more so than ever before, we have to keep an eye on all of it. And the big one was when SNAP benefits, had a pause there, and you didn't know when they were going to come back. And I reached out to Great Plains Food Bank, and they were there with food trucks, as soon as, I think it was like 4 or 5 days later, really getting our food pantries up and making sure they're fully stacked. Access to our Medicaid, a lot of, when this was coming up last year, they said, well, Representative Davis, your district is going to be one of the hardest hit ones, and specifically your reservation. And so I sounded the alarm, like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this to the cuts in Medicaid? And now we're seeing it. And with the prices of just everything across the board, our people are panicked. But we're helping each other out. That's the other thing that comes out of this. And but we're all being stretched, as much as we can. We're helping out where we can. But ultimately, and I hate to say this because I know when people hear the word treaty obligations, they kind of turn off sometimes, but that's true. That's what this United States, which we're celebrating 250 years of, that's what this United States was based off of, founded on, is those treaty rights. And so we're only asking that the federal government, fulfill those rights as far as our education, our healthcare, because you got this great, beautiful country, and trade in a lot of ways for it. So
Jayme, I'm curious on that. I've heard some news recently that there's, when it comes to the state's tribal colleges, that there's a lot of federal dollars that are in limbo right now, and that if they were to go as projected, the very existence of the tribal colleges could be in jeopardy in the next 3 years. I'm curious, is that what you're hearing? And
most definitely. My dad was a college president, so I know it through and through. It's my heart. And yes, they are in huge jeopardy. So they're all going to be heading to DC to advocate and hopefully get that funding restored.
Hope so.
Yes, definitely.
Jayme, we got about 30 seconds before commercial.
Yeah.
If you could make a pitch to your constituents, I wanted to give you a vote here in June next week. What would your pitch be?
Well, it's proven leadership in the House, and I hope to do that to continue that in the Senate. And I'm ready to hit the ground running. Already have many bills in the works, so I look forward to continuing the work in the Senate for District 9.
We've heard it from Jayme Davis. We'll be back after this commercial break and talk more with Zach Raknerud, running for House in District 5.
Base Fluke Trailers of Dickinson is a family-owned dealer with expert staff that know their products front to back. We stock over 150 units of all types and can custom order a trailer with the unique features and capabilities you require for brands you can trust. Our experienced service team is the reason we're also the best place to have your trailer customized or repaired. Count on Base Fluke Trailers of Dickinson to keep you hauling.
Come on in and experience small town hospitality and the personalized care that makes car buying a pleasure.
We know that every journey starts with the right car. Whether it's school drop-off, weekend road trips, or your daily commute, we have the right vehicle for you and your family.
With trusted brands, affordable prices, and a team that treats you like family, finding your next car has never been so easy.
We pride ourselves on personal attention and quality service. Cassette Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Yeah, U.S. Cattlemen is a member organization that each member has a vote in anything we do with policy. We're representing the independent cattleman or the cow-calf guy or an independent feeder or whatever. We like to support the independent producer. We're talking about mandatory ID. We're talking about cool. We're talking about all the legislation that's going to be coming down with the new administration. There's going to be lots of moving and shaking. So always check us out at our website, uscattleman.org.
We're talking to people today about investments. Let's see if we can get somebody. Excuse me, sir. Do you have a retirement account?
I do. I'm invested in some annuities.
Fixed income? How is that?
It was better a few years ago. Each year, it buys less and less, barely keeping up.
That's where gold can make a difference. Unlike fixed payouts, gold rises with inflation, so you're not stuck with a low fixed payment.
So gold isn't stuck in the past like my annuity?
Don't let inflation erode your retirement savings. Invest in gold. Invest with Noble Gold Investments.
I'm $27,000 in credit card debt.
You have to radically do something different, because if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting.
Now is not the time to be doing math. The time to be doing math was when we didn't go into $200,000 of debt.
If you are freaked out and you're stuck in these debt payments and you think it has to be part of your life, it doesn't.
We are Ladies of Another View. Join us every weekday morning at 9 o'clock a.m. as we discuss the big topics from North Dakota, the nation, and around the world.
We chat with everyone from celebrities and medical professionals to politicians, local business owners, and neighbors about the topics and stories that affect all of us.
We are unscripted and uncensored real news from real people. So join us every weekday morning for Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Welcome back from another commercial break. My name is Patrick Hart, and I'm with Jayme Davis, running for Senate in District 9, up in that Belcourt down to Devil's Lake corridor. It's a very strange district. If you ever think that gerrymandering only happens down in South Carolina and Tennessee, it actually happens here too. And also we have Zach Raknerud running for House in District 5. Zach, why should someone vote for you? What makes you the guy, the man of the hour?
Yeah, I appreciate the chance to talk about it. I think that a lot of the reasons that I'm running are very rooted in North Dakota values, and they're very rooted in the experience of life that I've had. My life experience has really informed my politics. And so I would just like to take a minute to talk about it. I was born in Fargo, North Dakota in 1993. I was born to a single mother. And for the first 2 to 3 years of my life, we lived in a trailer court and we relied on public food assistance. My mom had come from the household of a educator, certainly not wealthy. And so after those first couple of years of my life, she did meet my father, and they dated for a while and got married. And my father formally adopted me at about 3 to 4 years old. And yeah, through the rest of our life, we went through a series of challenges that really kind of helped define my politics and kind of how I believe that we should all kind of care for each other. And some of those challenges are, we moved to Grand Forks. My dad is a career civil servant. He's worked in the Grand Forks Air Force Base for almost 30 to 40 years now. It's a really long career. And while we were in Grand Forks, unfortunately, I did have a little sister, and she passed away when she was about 1.5 years old. And so you can kind of see what grief does to a family and how important, you know, safety nets are for occupations. When somebody goes through the loss of a child, I mean, sometimes they need some time to heal, and, you know, we need to have those protections for people. We went through the flood in 97. We were in Grand Forks. And so we were only probably about 1 mile from the river, not even. So our entire basement completely flooded out. So between that and the loss of my sister, my family decided to move, and we moved to the rural community of Northwood, North Dakota. And this is about 1,000 people. So very, very tiny. Jayme, you know well, rural nature. And so, yeah, we got to experience firsthand kind of the great sense of community that North Dakota has in its rural communities. While we were in Northwood, my mom battled cancer twice. She was 34 years old, and she was diagnosed with colon cancer. And, you know, we really saw how the community banded together. But we also saw some of the failures in our healthcare system. My dad, like I said, was a career civil servant. So, you know, a lot of the time they say that government workers get the best benefits that you can get. Even with that really good health insurance, my parents still had to take out 3 separate hardship withdrawals out of their 401k to pay for cancer treatment in the wealthiest nation on earth. Like, that shouldn't be happening. So thank goodness, you know, the treatments worked. My mom went into remission. She survived. Yeah, we just saw that whole scenario just brought out how important community is, and how important it is that we take care of some issues in our healthcare system. Then we went through another natural disaster with the tornado in Northwood in 2007. So 2 times in my life, we saw like how important disaster assistance is, and all those the ways that government steps in to help. And now we're in an era today where they want to dismantle FEMA completely. So, you know, it kind of just gives kind of a barometer as to the why I'm doing these things. Yeah, and then I moved to Minot in 2016. I went to UND after high school, and my first big boy job was out in Minot. Wasn't expecting to be sent out that way. And then what I ended up finding was home. It's been 10 years now that I've been in Minot. Met my wife, Heather. We got married. We have a 2-year-old named Emmett. And yeah, I've always told myself that when I look at the moments that we're facing today and the crisis of leadership that we have across the board, I wouldn't be able to look my son in the eyes in 10 years if I didn't tell him that I, you know, stood up against what we're seeing in the world today. So that's why I'm in this struggle with all of you. So appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show today. And I know you're really kind of deep into society and government and how they both interact. Maybe could I ask you, what role do you think the government should have in society?
Yeah, so I think it's one of those that's like, it's hard to really give an exact qualifier for that. I think that it's really just look at each area of life and kind of make that determination. we already do that in a lot of ways, right? Like we've determined that the courts and that law enforcement and all that sort of stuff should belong in the public sector wholly. In other ways, we've, completely gone the other way of privatization, and that works amazing in a lot of things too. So I think we just need to be smart about it, and we need to understand like where does the public sector have the proper incentive structure, and where does the private sector have the proper incentive structure, rather than having to pick one extreme or the other. I think we can take it case by case. And so healthcare is a good example where I think that we've commodified it a bit too much, and now like it's led to areas that are not good for the American people. So that's where we reassess.
Well, I know you're raising a little son, correct?
Yep.
Sorry, I had to make sure that was
You're
right.
good.
I remember my son Connor fell off like a tube slide at a playground, and his elbow swelled up. He was a little youngin'.
Yeah.
And we had to explain to him that it was Sunday, and we had to go to the ER, and he had to wait until Monday to go in to the hospital. And that's a real hard situation for a parent to be in with a young child, not understanding deductibles, copays, ER visits.
Yep.
So healthcare is a big one. I kind of have a quick "what do you stand for" list in front of me.
Sure.
Higher wages, better life, pro-family, pro-business, universal healthcare, protect our ranchers from market failures and our people from corporate consolidation, and strong public education, and of course, funding breakfast and lunch.
Yes.
Is there a certain one of those that is your top priority?
I think that the healthcare issue is number one for me, just because of the experiences I had watching my mom battle cancer twice, and just seeing that there's just a fundamental failure in the market. And everybody's seeing that now. Health insurance premiums are rising unsustainably. And it's something that the federal government doesn't look like they're going to do anything about over the next several years. Unfortunately, we passed that One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and that is going to, starting next year, we're going to have increased means testing for Medicaid. So that means that people are going to have to submit more paperwork in order to verify their eligibility status for Medicaid. And you know what that's not going to do? It's not going to make people need healthcare less.
Right.
It's going to make less people have coverage. And so what that means for our rural hospitals is that there's going to be more people who access the emergency room as primary care, and then they're not going to pay the hospital. And so that hospital is going to end up holding that debt. And that's going to put many of our rural facilities in jeopardy. So we have to do something in North Dakota. And so I think number one priority for me, if I get elected, is we need to use the interim period between the next session, which is going to be 2027. So the interim period between that and 2029, we need to have interim committees studying this issue relentlessly, and to say, what can North Dakota do to protect ourselves from the changes that are coming from the federal government? Because starting in 2028 and 2029, that's where the rescission in federal dollars starts. So if we have a good game plan in place, we'd be able to attack that issue in 2029 when the session starts.
Zach, I love it. You're coming to the table with plans. You know what you're going to do on day one. And, I've been following you. We've been friends now for probably, both got into politics in 2016, 2015. You've ran for office 4 cycles in a row. Why I feel that's a winning combination is because every time you're running for office, you have to refine your scope, think of new ideas to get elected, learn more about how the government organizes and interacts. What else are you doing to prepare for this upcoming session once you get elected?
I think the big thing is just to talk with people and to understand where the needs are in my community. There's a lot of despair and there's a lot of hardship going on out there right now. One example I will give is I've spoken to some people in Minot, and they talk about the fact that essentially every single trailer park has been bought out by a private equity firm in Minot. And this isn't just like some business coming in and buying out families. It's vulture capital practices, which essentially means that these private equity companies are leveraging the assets of these trailer parks to basically, it's a convoluted way to make hedge fund managers money, where they basically go into a place and then milk it for what it's worth, shut it down, and sell the scraps.
Wow.
And so they're doing that to people's shelter. And so when I hear things like this, it's like, it motivates me to say, like, we need to, as a state government, protect people from those situations, because that's somebody who's lived in a trailer park for 15 years. Think about a company just comes in, doubles their lot rent, and says, deal with it. that's a sign of a broken country. And so we can't let that be.
So are people leaving Minot due to this as well?
Yeah, I mean, they're either leaving Minot or there's some, I've spoken to one family who unfortunately one of their children had to be homeless for a bit. And they were able, thankfully, to find like an efficiency unit where they were able to get into it after that. But it's devastating because, you know, having spent the first 3 years of my life in a trailer, like that's one of the most accessible options where somebody can have their own space and still be affordable. And so to have like even that part of the social contract at risk it shows that we're in a pretty dire spot right now.
Does Minot have homeless resources readily available?
It's we've Minot, and like I think this really goes into North Dakota values overall, is that it's something that we've cared deeply about in the past.
Yeah.
And we're starting to have that erode right now, where like I look at my life, the 90s through today, we were coasting off the inertia of the Great Society and the New Deal and all these things where the Dem-NPL and the nonpartisan leagues, everybody in that coalition fought hard for really good things.
Right.
And we've been coasting off that for a long time. And now I think we're really starting to see the cracks forming where since we're not making those investments anymore. And so I think we just have to turn that around.
Definitely.
One of my concerns with the way that North Dakota's the trajectory is that when we had a recession in 2008 and then again a bubble in 2013, we had a really strong ag and oil. And that kind of made North Dakota counter-cyclical to the recession across the nation. However, we don't necessarily have that. So maybe we'll get into that after this commercial break. Zach, Jayme, I appreciate you being with us, and we will see you soon. Thank you.
Hey, y'all, it's Trent on the loose. I want to tell you, Lady Blue and I, we got a lot of miles together. But you know what? You and I got a lot of miles together as well. And all I want to do is bring to you the information on how we maintain a domestic supply of food and fuel for future generations. So I'm going to continue to travel the world and unearth the stories that make it possible that we can live in a free United States of America.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza. Are you dealing with arthritis, nerve and back pain, dry skin, or superficial wounds, but found no relief? Give Stewart's Natural Health a try. For over 4 decades, Stewart's Natural Health has been helping people and animals with herbal and natural oil lotions, ointments, and creams with a mission to help you relieve pain and feel your best using the power of nature. Discover the safe, drug-free solution to your pain, guaranteed or your money back. Visit stewartsnatural.health today.
We are the St. Mary Sisters. We are building a new facility here in Bismarck, North Dakota, for the sake of training young women to be courageous teachers in this state. The sisters will educate the younger generation to be fully alive through truth and discipline. The sisters' life of devotion and joy will make a positive difference in your community. Check out what we're up to, see what's going on, and join our mission to make a difference in the lives of the children of North Dakota.
Ashley, North Dakota is where life moves a little slower, but never gets dull. From hunting, camping, and fishing to safe streets where kids can be kids, this is the best of small town living. And Ashley offers everything you need, from healthcare to hardware to countless ways to stay active. Here, we've invested in our future with major upgrades to roads, parks, and education. Whether you're here for the day or here for life, you'll find Ashley's where you ought to be.
There's never been a better time to rediscover the style, reliability, and all-season, all-terrain fun of the all-new Nissan lineup at the new and improved Ryan Nissan. Whether it's the sleek and stylish Murano, the adventure-ready Pathfinder, or the reimagined, ready-for-anything 2026 Rogue, the all-new Ryan Nissan has the vehicle of your dreams at a price perfect for any budget. It's time to rediscover your passion for the road. It's time to rediscover the all-new Ryan Nissan, engineered to endure.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for making it through that commercial breaks. Of course, thanks to our sponsors. And I got to shout out Gary Emeneth. Appreciate the opportunity for allowing myself to host. And I'll tell you guys, all too often we talk about the national narrative and how that influences politics regularly. I really got to shout out the two people I have with of being homegrown, of not being extreme, talked about listening to their communities, talking to constituents, and trying to make decisions that are right based on making sure society can support all people of the community. We have Zach Raknerud running for House up in District 5 and Jayme Davis running up in District 9 for Senate. Can I start this last segment, you guys, by asking maybe each of you for your visions of North Dakota? Like, what's your cloud nine? If you got everything passed, if you had the best session you could, what would you walk out of there with?
I think it would be a return to the values of North Dakota of old. I'm so proud of the history of this state. Growing up here and studying it in school, and even studying it throughout this campaign. Like we talk about, we had a governor, Governor Guy, who revolutionized mental health care. Like you said, you're going to have a committee meeting later about health and human services.
Yes.
The entire concept of rural mental health and breaking it down into human services zones throughout a sparsely populated state like ours, that was considered a revolution back in the day when Governor Guy did that. And so I think that we need to lean back into that and just say, like, what can we do today to take care of our rural community? Because the changes that are coming from the federal government right now are attacking rural states like ours. It is our states, because we're so sparsely populated and because everything from the gasoline you need to travel from community to community is really expensive right now. All of that stuff compounds in a rural community where there's less people in more space. And so we need to, as a community, come together and take care of each other. So that would be my number one focus, is what can we do to take care of each other? And I think like a really good piece of that would be to try to get people to come check out North Dakota. And the way we can do that is to utilize the tools that we have. We have the Bank of North Dakota. What if we use that bank and we said, hey, any young professional who wants to come here and to fulfill an area of need for us, whether that's becoming a practicing physician or becoming a veterinarian in a community that really needs one, we'll take on your student debt and we'll not charge you interest for it while you live here in North Dakota. And that way young people could say, okay, well, if I'm not paying interest on my student debt, I'll come live in North Dakota for a while. And then boom, maybe they'll find out how great it is. So just stuff like that to be able to take care of all of us.
Love that.
Jayme, do you have a vision? Top three?
Yes, definitely. I guess, for me, tribal state relations is number one. I think when for North Dakota to be successful, our tribes need to be successful. And, when that tribal state relations is strong, all of North Dakota benefits. The other two, is simply clarity and access. Clarity of what our government is doing, that transparency that, I work really hard at educating. This is what this is. This is how this works in the House. This is how this works in the Senate. And people are just, I never knew that. And of course, we've all learned this stuff, right? Back in school in our primary days, but we don't really pay attention. I mean, I didn't, I'll say that, until I really, felt it, hit my bank account in a lot of ways, my personal beliefs, different things. Then it's like, okay, how does this work? And so how do I access that? Why don't I have access to this? And so for me, it's making sure that our rural and tribal communities have that access to healthcare, access to technology, access to, good education, behavioral health, mental health, addiction services. We have so much. Like right now, I live in Rolette, North Dakota, small town, right outside the reservation of Turtle Mountain, and our only grocery store is closing. Today is, in fact, the last day.
Wow.
And so now I have the choice of going to about 15 miles back to Belcourt or to Dunseith. But really, if I want a bang for my buck, I got to go an extra 30 miles to Botno to the Walmart there. And that takes a good chunk of gas every time. And so it's really impacting us. Our small towns are struggling. We're strong, we look out for each other, but at the same time, there's just some things that we cannot overcome. And that's where our government needs to step in and be a good government and look out for each other and make sure that our rural and tribal communities have these things that we need for everyday life: housing, food, education. These are the basics of us being a great nation. And so just ensuring that we have that clarity of what's going on during session, out of session, and then also the access. How do you gain access to this? Because a lot of the times, the biggest thing for me is what I'm most proud of is that constituents in my district, outside my district, call me. And how do I get this? Who do I have to call, Jayme? What's this protocol? What's this procedure? And that for me, in knowing that they trust me to help them in that way, that really means a lot to me. So again, figuring it out, having that access and that clarity.
Well, I think that really wraps back to when we talk about affordability and how there's this seemingly curve that no one can keep up. Inflation's drastically outpacing wage increase. We're seeing record profits across the board from oil companies that are well over $100 a barrel. And I kind of struggle myself between wanting the Bakken to do well and wanting affordable transportation costs, because that, of course, balloons everything up. There used to be trust busting. And now we're seeing these huge corporate mergers. What are you guys' ideas on, allowing these multi-billion-dollar conglomerate organizations to keep having record profits?
Yeah, that has been the theme of the 10 years that I've been in politics, is that I can remember from 2016 when I started to today, the stock market is at all-time highs and the people's economic conditions is getting worse and worse. And that has been a trend that has continued throughout the last 10 years. And I think it's right now that we're really starting to see a breaking point at that. It's getting very bad for people. And so I think it's kind of one of those scenarios where change is going to happen. Otherwise, the path that we're on right now isn't sustainable. And so I think I do take comfort in the fact that when people say that, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And I think that due to the fact that, what came after the last Gilded Age was the progressive era, and that's your Teddy Roosevelts, that's your trust busters. So absolutely, I think that the comforting thing maybe for all of us to remember is that in 2015, as an example, the Republican Party was rudderless and they had no direction whatsoever. And then all of a sudden they had this mythical figure come out of nowhere and dominate American politics. So who knows? Maybe there's a figure like that on the left side of the spectrum who's, let's hopefully say, a bit more moderated in their approach, who can tackle these fundamental issues that you're talking about, because it's not sustainable. There's too much wealth concentration in the hands of too few, and we've seen it before.
So I love that answer, by the way. Maybe take it down just a little bit. How can we participate in your races? Do you have any upcoming town halls or events that we can tune into?
For me, not right now. I'm just really doing community myself, going out to them. Specifically for my community, we have a lot already going on. And so I'm going to them. And like I said, we're across the board on old school radio. I love that. I've got a campaign going on there, digital. Newspapers is like, by the time June 9th comes around, they're going to be sick of my face and hearing my platform and all of that. But I just know that working in the Senate is my next step. And I have the people I've been talking to, for and against, it's all positive. It's really good. Like, yeah, we want to see you in the Senate, Jayme. We know your work ethic, we know your background, you've proven it. And so why would we not vote for you? So really it's just making sure that I'm ready for the next round, and win or lose. And I think for me, that's where you find leadership, is even if you lose, and like, I'm really glad to hear that you've, tried and tried and tried again. Because for me, that's what I look in leadership is, are you going to do this even if you don't have a title? And that's for me, I will. Of course, I want to win. I'm very competitive in that way, but also I have bills and they're not going to stop just because I may not be there, but either I want to be there because, they need that voice. And I've seen it in firsthand, being in those rooms, being at that table, and having a very different outlook on a lot of things that happen here in North Dakota that a lot of people have never heard before, and making sure that voice is strong, but there's also action after that. And that's where I think I separate myself from a lot of people. And but I already have a lot of bills in the works. And I just hope that I'll be able in that seat to make it happen.
Zach, how can we see you on the campaign trail? Where are you going to be next week?
Biggest thing is infrastructure building right now. We're in the primary season. So I think the social media presence and everything is what we're really focused on right now. I've got TikTok, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to please check all that stuff out, you can see there's a website right there, d5dem-npl.com. We're also building the financial infrastructure that we need. So if you're watching this and you want to even send a check, there's an address you can send a check to on the Secretary of State filing. We need the resources to get the message out. And this district was last one in 2006. And so I think that this year is starting to feel a lot like 2006 and that we can do this thing. So we'd appreciate your support.
You guys got a minute left. Any last words of wisdom you want your constituents to hear from you?
Just get out and vote. I think that's ultimately for me a big thing, because I know what it's like not to have that access readily available. So, exercise your civic duty and get out there and vote on June 9th.
And what I would say is just look at us like regular people, because that's what we are. We are people who want to see North Dakota be a better community. We want a better future for all of us. So I know that we've lived in an era of intense partisanship, but at this moment in particular, I would really ask that you just look at all of us as individual people, as people who love North Dakota and want to see a better future.
Well, you've heard it here first with Zach Raknerud running for House in District 5 and Jayme Davis, current House member, running for Senate in District 9. I appreciate you tuning in today. My name is Patrick Hart. We'll see you on the trail.